there, welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase, and in what is going to be known in the future as Battle of the Quiffs, I am delighted to introduce Paul Clarke from Mr&Mrs Clarke. How are you, Paul?
I'm really well. I've worked hard on this quiff, especially because I saw that email early. He said it had to be bigger and better than anyone else.
It's just one of those many emails we get saying it's got to be big, and normally gets caught in the spam filter, but there we go. So we've got Jerry Lyons, Peter Knight, and Charlie Perdios, who are three of the most hair-enabled agents in this industry as well. So it's good to see somebody who is so good there. But we're not here to talk about that today, Paul. Talk to us about Mr&Mrs Clarke, because I think it's a really fascinating story in terms of there. And as always, what I like to try and do is not to go all full Avengers on you, but just talk to us about the origin story, how it's come about, because I think it's such a different story that it merits telling. So just give us your background.
Yeah. So, well, background. My background, I started in professional sport. Actually, I was involved. I came out of university with a sports psychology degree, and I worked in professional sport. I then went into teaching, and I loved it. But my wife and I then set up an events and marketing agency, and we ran that. A brilliant business with an amazing team based in central London, doing some big stuff around the country with different sports teams and big events and working with big brands. And we got acquired as a business, and it was a really exciting time for us. And we had to move from London down to Sussex with that business at the time. So we were trying to sell a house in London, buy a house in Sussex, and we...
Let me stop you. Let me guess. It wasn't the best experience, was it?
Yeah, I'm going to try and think of it. I like to see myself as a positive disruptor, but I don't want to be one of these shouty types of chucking hate on everyone. Look, we didn't have an amazing experience of selling our house that we adored and we'd spent loads of money on, and you know, it was a very special home to us. And then we were trying to buy a house in Sussex, and it was a different agency we're buying from. And I think we were just a little bit. All of those kind of characters, we were seeing those characters that everyone had talked about. We were experiencing all those pain points that other people had experienced with estate agents. I kept whinging about it. My wife, Alex, said, well, look, shut up. Let's stop whinging about it. Let's think about setting our own estate agency up. So she threw down the gauntlet. I said, yes, fantastic. Come on, let's do it. So we set up Mr&Mrs Clarke. We teamed up with a couple of guys who had just set up a branding agency in Sussex, who have now gone on to big old things. They're called United Us. Big shout out to them. So we set up Mr&Mrs Clarke with their sort of help behind us. And Mr&Mrs Clarke was born with the simple idea of delivering estate agency in a discerningly different way. And I know that's a soundbite and it's all a bit corporate. It's like, discerning different. But the idea of discerningly different was we wanted to do estate agency in the way that probably our friends wanted us estate agents to act. We wanted them to act. Our parents wanted estate agents to act. A really honourable, trustworthy, good way. And then different. All of our mates were sort of complaining about how bad estate agents' photography was and how boring their websites were, and why do you have all these big glass boxes on the high street with agents sat around on their phone doing absolutely no work? And that's the perception. I'm not saying that's what always happens, but all these perceptions. So we said, right, let's do it in a different way. Let's not have a high street office. Let's concentrate on digital advertising. Let's concentrate on producing beautiful images, telling stories about homes rather than just bricks and mortar. Go from a kind of a magazine style approach to the whole thing. So we kind of said, right, come on, let's give ourselves a year. Let's see if we can. We knew how kind of tied up estate agency was. The market's tied. It's tough to penetrate this market, and the amount of estate agents that launch across the country every year. There's some crazy stat that I don't. You see it every now and then. New estate agencies are open left, right, and centre, and most of them fail because everyone is doing the same thing. It's copycat estate agents setting up estate agencies. So we were coming from a fresh background. We said we'd give ourselves a year. Let's see how it happened. It was going to be myself and Alex who were running the business. We learned how to be estate agents. We did all our qualifications, all of that kind of thing. And And then we just had a brilliant first year. People really liked kind of this
What year,
fresh.
what year was that, Paul?
That was 2015.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah.
And
There's
you
a
mentioned
few
there.
more wrinkles and grey hairs, but yeah, a few years ago.
So you mentioned there a few times that you mentioned spoken obviously about friends' perceptions, family perceptions. Did you actively go out and talk to those guys about, you know, what they believed and indeed their own experiences, or how?
Yeah, we did.
And how long did that? You mentioned that process about where Alex said, "Look, we're going to do this thing." How long was that? Because that's it's a massive decision, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was a huge decision. And I think we were in a brilliant part of life that we almost had a free hit on it. You know, we were, it was just the two of us in our family. We had we're both really entrepreneurial. We're both, you know, have a nice balance of Alex is very sort of runs the operations. She's got a much bigger brain than me. She kind of sets everything up well. I've got a big gob at the front and I'm creative and so it's a really nice balance. So we had kind of a free hit at it. But in terms of setting the brand up and setting the business up, once you get an idea on something and you commit to it, you've got to run fast at it and you've got to run hard at it and you've got to really commit to it. So we threw everything into it. We had a brilliant creative brand agency behind us to help us create all of that. You know, we teamed up with a CRM at the point. We just got everything set up. So it was a few months, and then in terms of talking to people, we didn't create an echo chamber that a lot of people do and just talk to friends and family.
Yeah, why am I right to do this thing that I really want to do?
Absolutely. Well, actually, what I did, I said to my dad, I said, Dad, I'm you know. He was very proud of professional sport and then teaching and then ran this nice business. And I said, Dad, we took him out for dinner. I said, Dad, I'm going to set an estate agency up. There were a few expletives over my dead body.
It's my dream come true.
Yeah. This is it. And then he said, what are you going to call it? And I said, you know, Mr&Mrs Clarke. And it was his name. That's his. And then it was it. I think he just sort of put his knife and fork down and walked out. And yeah. We're just about talking now, so he's kind of proud at the moment. But we did a lot of market research, so we really like I said, we were down in just north of Brighton. We were living around there. It was so we talked to a lot of people. We set up sort of focus groups and asked them about it. We did surveys with sort of different databases and asked them what they liked.
You really went to town then to find out those, you know, what the challenges were. What did you take for? What were the main themes that came back from those focus groups?
It was the marketing.
Yeah.
I think it's because
your marketing. Your marketing is exceptional. It's very different, isn't it? And okay, I'm gonna go to the question that I've been dying to ask all along here is. Talk to me about the cocktail recipes. So this is
one.
They are
cocktails. The cocktail. So yeah, we found the biggest disappointment in estate agency was terrible photography, or they said it was terrible. You know, you're selling a £1 million house, £500,000 house, £250,000, what, £250,000 house, and these photos are being taken on people's iPhones, or even not by them, just by the little rubbish cameras, out of focus, and people were. Whatever, it wasn't that long ago, but everyone was obsessed by Instagram, Pinterest, reading, living, etc., L decoration. They come to sell their house and there's their beloved house blown up to wide angled lenses and it's a mess and no one was pouring in that kind of effort into the images. And you know, that's digital marketing. You've got to create this digital footprint of this beautiful image. It's a product. You're selling something very, very, very expensive, very, very important to people's lives. We'll put some effort into the marketing. So our marketing is kind of split into two. There's kind of the brand advertising and how we generate brand awareness as a Mr&Mrs Clarke, and then how we create brand awareness for our agents. And we'll chat sort of about the brokerage model and the franchise model and from the States and Australia. So how we help our agents really create good brand awareness for them, and then there's the marketing about the homes, how we sell a home, how we advertise a home. So yeah, the cocktail cards. I think that kind of epitomizes our discerningly different approach to marketing and brand awareness. You know, we all get those letters that drop on or flyers. You know, you've got Domino's, you've got double glazing, and then you've got the estate agents flyers that land on your doormat. And they're all as bad as each other. Where the Domino's ones are better because it's pretty clear what they're advertising, and we all want Domino's. You know, the estate agent one lands on the doorstep, and it's, you know, I have 10 people waiting to buy your house, and you're like, well, you haven't. I know you haven't.
Dear XYZ.
Yeah, and that was the other bit we found out about our sort of market research at the time, is people didn't trust estate agents, didn't believe them. There was this.
It's always a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a shame. There's a lot of great people in the industry, but we've sort of eroded the trust by bad marketing, by saying things like that constantly that just aren't believable.
I think it's ironic, isn't it? When what totally rings for me and resonates is in an industry where, you know, the primary way of communicating is via the imagery, and yet you see the quality of the photography so often is so poor. You know, just at the most basic level, what a failure of connection that is to get to your, you know, to get the message out there.
Yeah, you're totally right, and I think it's meant. People are buying a home. It's meant to be emotive. You're meant to tell a story through imagery, and that's really important. But I know you want to know about the cocktail, so I will make sure I get that out.
Was there a mint gin one I seem to remember?
So basically, to build brand awareness, we will send out direct marketing. You know, direct marketing is a huge part for any business to get marketing out there, as well as digital advertising, direct marketing. So our agents, we have a Mr&Mrs Clarke cocktail collection. Every couple of months we bring out a new cocktail. We create lovely flyers that land on people's doormats that say, you know, make this. So this one up here, these two here are with the Cotswolds distillery. One's a whiskey cocktail, one's a gin cocktail. It lands on there. It's got a cocktail recipe. We hope people sort of keep that, put it on their fridge.
So that's not getting thrown away, is it?
Exactly. You turn it around and it says, if you want to meet up for a cocktail and talk about your house and talk about thinking of selling or market appraisals or whatever it is, scan this QR code and it goes and it helps. So again, it's just a discerningly different way of marketing that's different in this industry.
Yeah, it's funny you said that at the beginning. You straight away, well, first of all, you're self-deprecating, so you had me there. But you're talking about, you know, it was a bit sort of, it sounds a little bit, I don't know if you said trite, but it's only trite if it's not delivered and if it's not honest, isn't it? And that's the critical factor.
Well, I think you've got to be authentic, and I think there's a lot of, so we are authentic. You know, our story is real. It came from a pain point of why we set the business up. The way we sell homes is authentic. We tell a story in normal language, in a lovely tone of voice that's irreverent but fun, but interesting and compelling. It's not, you know, again, we found this out in the market research, and we continue to find it. You know, those property descriptions. Well, the word property description is just really bland. So be discerningly different of actually, yeah. And I say tell a story. So yeah, authenticity, I think, is really, really important. That's both as a brand, and then we talk a lot about authenticity and being credible when we work with our agents about creating a personal brand. You know, that's massive in a lot of industries now, about how you create your personal brand, which sounds a bit naff. But you've got to be yourself. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be.
I've been going to ask you the question. You mentioned it earlier. Normally I jump in with the Australian thing, but clearly we lag behind America and Australia in terms of franchising. And I was going to ask the question on that. And one of the things I was going to say is that because Brits as individuals don't like to self-publicize as much, or do you think it's just the way that, you know, the different economies have grown up over the years? Why are they so much more? I think in Australia, for example, it's well over 50% of agents are franchises, and of course it's growing massively over here, but it's not to that level yet.
Yeah, I think the system over here probably has prevented a lot of agents getting out there and showing themselves off. And this is an industry where it should be people driven. The person is at the front. They're sitting in the living rooms of sellers' homes, and they are going to hold their hand of that client all the way through. So it seems silly that agents in this country have not. It's not been about them. They've not been at the forefront. So what we've tried to do is create brand and person at the front, really push them both forward. But I think the Australian and American, I think, yeah, and there probably is that British mentality about it. You know, we haven't been as brash as the sort of self-publicists of the American real estate broker. But then that's changed.
That is another word for confidence, of course.
Absolutely, you know, but that is changing fast, you know. But then you think back in the day, there'd have been that local estate agent, that local person who was selling homes, that it was all about the person, you know, that predominantly a guy then, but you know, that person in the local community you knew was going to be that person who was going to sell your house. He or she would hold your hand and guide you through that process. And then I think,
ironically, it's a return to form, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. We find that really interesting. I think then corporate brands took over everything and homogenized the whole estate agency industry. And I think it's just the last few years that the person, the agent, is growing in popularity, and you want someone trusted. It's a massive deal to sell your house. You want somebody, some real person, really good person, to sell your house, hold your hand, supported by.
And that homogenization thing, of course, is in the differentiation of. In the absence of differentiation, it always just comes down to price, then, doesn't it, as well? Which is a pretty poor place to be.
It does, and agents will. In the amount we talk to agents, they want to be themselves. They want to break those shackles of being held back, because the only option they've had previously is just to go to the next high street agency or the next, you know, and just do the same thing. Whereas actually they want to be doing videos, or they want to be out networking, talking. They don't want to be chained to a seat in a glass box office on the high street. They want to be out there doing walking the walk.
Yeah, exactly right. So where are you at today then, Paul? So I saw you do, obviously you've got this fantastic tie-up now with Belvoir. Do you want to just talk us through how all that's come around?
Yeah, it is a fantastic tie-up. I think a lot of people have talked to me over the last few months, as you know, you're this positive disruptor. You've very quietly gone in disrupting the agency, doing things slightly differently, and now you're part of a big PLC. Belvoir are terrific. The people in Belvoir are terrific. The CEO, Dorian Gonzalez, I just have all the time in the world for. And when Alex and I first met Dorian a year ago, I think he kind of summed up franchising, that it's about the magic is that person locally supported by a brand. And we talked a lot in the early days in our discussions about joining Belvoir, about us being fiercely sort of independent, ambitious, creative. And he said, well, you know, that's how it will always stay. You know, that's the importance, that's the magic of something like Mr&Mrs Clarke and the other brands within in the group. But we're fiercely independent, and the guys at Belvoir have just sort of supported us to grow. So yeah,
it's a wonderful statement, though, as well, isn't it, for, you know, a company that, you know, that's a big corporate, a massive corporate out there, but to see a company as different as you, to say, actually, we want that in our kit bag, we value that kind of that ability to stand out from the crowd, is a great fillip, isn't it, really?
It is, and I think I instantly respected Belvoir because of that they were prepared to work with a brand that is so fiercely independent and creative. And we talk a lot, so this is a growing part of the industry, this broker model, this brokerage style approach to agency, this brokerage style way of franchising, and it's growing in this country. And we know there is that space. We know there are a lot of agents who want to join it, and there's a lot that don't. And it's not, I think it's not that aggressive kind of, this is the only way and high street agency is the other way. It's just different options. It's not like it was 5 years ago when it was high street v online. I think there's just a different option.
It's horses for courses, isn't it? And I think one of the things you managed to sidestep quite ably there, isn't it? As you said 3 years ago, where it would have just been, you're either an online agent or you're whatever a traditional agent is, and obviously, and actually, this wonderful blending, you know, some of the onlines have added in to greater service levels, or indeed gone to the wall, or the other traditional agents have certainly borrowed a lot of what made the online agents popular to the public, and that's really important now. So everyone's kind of this, whatever a hybrid agent means, but gives loads of different flavors for the different niches of person and client that there are out there.
Yeah, and the client is the most important thing. I think that's what, that we're a service industry. We have to remember the client is the most important part of this, and everything we do is about getting a better service to the client. So we believe, and Belvoir believe, and this is why it's a brilliant partnership, is that we believe the client is first, and we have to provide the best option for that certain client. And we believe it's actually that individual locally, that great local estate agent, supported by a marketing brand-led team behind them, to deliver a great estate agency service. And sometimes that's been forgotten, I think.
Okay. Why should somebody look at franchising today, Paul? And I suppose just as a follow on, is there a particular sort of person that more appeals to franchising?
I think traditionally franchising has I don't know, got a bit of a bad rep in a way, because I think you can set up any type of franchise with sort of almost no experience. Whereas I think the amount of people we've talked to over the last couple of years in particular, they really love property. They really love this idea of getting into property. The difference with us is that you join and you are doing it. You are doing estate agency. So we'll train you up. If you are an estate agent and you've been an estate agent for a long time or a short time, we will support you and train you on marketing, or on social media, on how to present a house properly, on networking and all of those parts. But if you are brand new to estate agency, then we'll support you on becoming a qualified estate agent. And we believe, I know you guys have got a fantastic hookup with a able agent and a brilliant trading companies, and we work very closely with them. We absolutely love them, to get our non-estate agents sort of trained up as good estate agents. So our training is
so you will look, there is no one size fits all here. You will famously look for the right attitude and then train up accordingly.
Absolutely, and we're super passionate about that. It's about it's about personality, it's about drive. And so the question of what makes a good franchisee or what makes a good agent, a good broker, all that, I think you've got to be very passionate about the business that you're joining. In this is estate agency. There's got to be an entrepreneurial drive about you. You cannot just sit back and think, oh, come to me. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Business doesn't work by osmosis, that suddenly you join a franchise group and millions of leads are going to come. We work a lot on lead generation, both locally and nationally for our agents, but you've got to get out there and graft and use the tools. So
it's got to be the leads as well, haven't you?
Exactly. So, but I think what we really noticed with people joining us is they really enjoy the hard work. There's that amazing. You start your own business, so they're starting the Mr&Mrs Clarke business in their area, and then they spend a couple of months working really hard. Leads start coming in. They start getting nice comments from people. We really like this. We like you. What a great approach. Oh, I've sold a hat. And that you kind of see this blossoming of people. And I think that's you talk about, just being happier. I think there was a study out relatively recently about, people who run their own business or are entrepreneurs. There is a happiness element to it. Yes, it's hard work. And yes, there is not always success. But you definitely grow as a person by setting up and running your own thing.
There should be a fairly simple answer to that. And if it's something you're passionate about and it becomes less like work, then of course it's not a chore, is it? I always bemoan the people I'm famously a glass half full person, but on Sunday nights when they're bemoaning the Monday, oh God, it's Sunday, just change your job. I know it's not quite as easy as that all the time though, but if you're genuinely always constantly feeling like that, you're in the wrong thing, aren't you?
You totally. And it's self-determination. When you're autonomous and when you have something that's going to drive you forwards, you're internally motivated. And I mentioned at the start, sort of sports psychology. And a lot of business psychology is based on sports principles. I know you're a big football fan. I'm a big football fan. And you look at the new breed of football managers over the last few years.
Well, they're all over it, aren't they? Absolutely.
Absolutely. You look at. Well, I won't name names so I don't offend people on different football teams. But this new breed of football manager is almost similar to estate agency in that you've got people coming in with a real breadth of experience, are coming at it possibly from a more educated, interesting, creative way of doing things. They're not just football managers because they've got 20 medals, and then suddenly get the England job. There's a lot of people who can come into Mr&Mrs Clarke, run their estate agents. They might have been an estate agency for 5 years. They're coming at it from a marketing background or a PR background or a retail background, but they can bring a load of different skills to get the client something great. So I think I apply everything to sport. I'm obsessed by it. So the sports psychology, business psychology parts of it, but yeah.
No, it's a really good one. And so we spoke about the marketing. How else are there any other different ways you can think you do vary from typical franchises?
We deliver a lot there. So when I say we have an office in the middle of Warwick, and we have our marketing team, our graphic design team, our ops and admin team. So we're this buzzing machine that stands behind our agents, and whatever our agents need or want to grow brand awareness locally, to sell a house, we provide for them. So the design aspect is interesting. So someone called a few weeks, one of our agents said, right, I want a car branded. And yeah, they're all estate agents, the famous Minis in Foxtons and all of it. We will work, our graphic designer will work with our team of agents to create that perfect branded car and create something bespoke to them. It's not all cookie cutter, and not everything will. I was
going to say, this isn't about just here's a load of a load of brochures or something you're going to put out there. They can come to you with some quite left field, challenging ideas, everything else, and you'll bounce that around and think how best you can apply that.
And that makes our life really interesting. I want a job that's interesting. I don't want to just create generic. We have got baseline brochures, everything under the sun. But when someone comes to us and says, I've got a home and I want to do a newspaper style brochure. No, fantastic. Let's do it. Let's do something different, because if that's going to get our clients, when I say our client, it's ours and the agents we're working with, that same client. If that's going to get them the best deal on the house, that's going to sell the house, that's going to build brand awareness and sell a house, then we will jump all over it. I think a lot of, again, franchising sometimes gets a bad name because everything is the same. Everything is very generic. We are super brand led. We fiercely guard this brand with our lives. You ain't going to see Mr&Mrs Clarke sort of turned into something different. We protect it fiercely, and our brand guidelines are 100 pages thick. But you can apply that to some pretty cool social media campaigns. We've designed surfboards for an agent in the past who sort of wanted a branded surfboard.
So we're not seeing Mr&Mrs Clarke mouse mats anytime soon, is what you're telling me.
If you want one, I can create one. There you go.
Do you know what? The only reason I say that sneeringly, because I don't say that about a competitor. And ironically, though, 15 years later, you still walk into the agents' offices and they're still there. But that's
absolutely
my fundamental misunderstanding of how marketing.
I haven't got a mouse mat. I'll write it down. But no,
I don't even know if they even exist anymore. But anyway, so talk to us about some of the real, about the most important thing, your people. What are some of the success stories there in terms of, and I'm really interested as well, some of those people who maybe, had hit a bit of a brick wall, maybe working in a traditional agency and had used this as a way of reinvigorating themselves. Have you got any of those kind of stories in your agents?
Yeah, I think, yes, we have. And I think we're selective of who we take on. Yeah. And we want people to be very selective about us. There has to be that kind of partnership approach to it.
Both ways.
Yeah, and it has to. I think otherwise it can turn into a big horrible mess and people leaving, jumping, and not everyone's going to be a success. But we want it to be an enjoyable journey, as well as lucrative for our agents. They're running a business; they've got to make a good living. But I don't know. There's something hippie about me that I want people to be happy. I actually want, when someone joins us, and I want a new job. So
I love the idea that in this day and age, that has to be a hippie view rather than just actually being a nice, normal human being.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I try not to use. I use the word nice so much, but nice. It wouldn't. It's nice. So Tish based over in what she operates in Wolverhampton towards Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
She was with a high street agent, independent agent. She's got 2 gorgeous daughters. She's got a lovely, family life. But I think she was just a bit. She wanted that flexible working around her family, around her kids. But she loved estate agency. She felt restricted. She's been with us about 10 months, and she's pushed us. We've pushed her. She's getting good business now, and she's really enjoying it. She's getting to be creative on social media. She's getting to create all these videos. She's delivering for clients.
Usually she's happier in terms of what she's doing.
Absolutely, and her clients are and we monitor and talk to clients all the time. Are you happy? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And monitor that. And some of like Tish's clients are super happy with her approach to it. So she's a I haven't asked her that I was going to talk about it, but I'm sure it'll be okay. It's all really positive, but she's worked incredibly hard, and she was saying to me last week, she's working harder than she ever did with just as an independent estate agent, because it's her thing. It's hers.
What we were saying before, isn't it? It's
yeah,
great.
Totally. And then from Tish as sort of balanced Mike in Newport. So Newport and Monmouthshire and South Wales is one of our sort of busiest territories. And Mike started 3 years ago with us. He came from a property background, but not a property sales background. Really wanted to get involved. He had a very, very short stint with another kind of high-end franchise type business, but felt it was quite restrictive. And he's super creative and knows everybody locally. He's that typical man about Newport. He knows everyone, and we've just pulled the pin on him, supported him in what he wants supporting, and he's doing brilliant business. He's just a joy to work with. So
an apology. I said I was glass half full, and now I'm going to go all negative. Does it ever not work out? And if there is there? Can you put a finger on why it hasn't worked out? Or is it just one of those facts of lives that sometimes it doesn't work?
I'm like you. I'm super enthusiastic, and I'm very positive about things. But yes, some things just don't work out.
Is that an expectation gap? What would not ordinarily be that the people just assume that going into franchising is kind of just going to be the solution to all of their issues?
I think it's right. Personally, I think it's really simple. I think it's a matter of working hard, and this part of it comes. There's going to be different factors. There's going to be timing on things. There's going to be local competition.
You've got to put in your hard yards, basically.
It's working hard. You talk to, again, I'll bring it back to sport very briefly. You work really, really, really hard as a tennis player. You're going to get better at tennis, but sometimes you're not going to win any matches, right? But I think with business there is a part. You've got all the tools, all the right brand. Absolutely, if you work really hard at it, enjoy it. But if you work really hard at it, it will be a success. But yeah, there have been guys and girls that have joined us and it hasn't worked out. And we have frank conversations when that relationship comes to an end of why it didn't. And that's usually the reason.
There's not a franchise in the country that doesn't have that as well, is there? Absolutely. As well as, it's just as important, I would think, to maintain the brand's integrity as well, isn't it? Above anything. You mentioned some quite diverse areas there. Do you deal fully nationwide in terms of there? Is that the whole model?
Yeah. So the original, when we first started, so we're based in Sussex. We didn't really know anyone in Sussex, so we came back to Warwick, where we had family, so we could really throw everything into the business. And then it sort of Mr&Mrs Clarke grew out across the West Midlands naturally, and we've got a really brilliant core team of agents, franchisees around the West Midlands. Ben over in Solihull, Ed in Kenilworth and Coventry, Cara in Leamington and Warwick. Doing brilliant things, and then it just naturally kind of spread out. But then we also do quite a bit of work in London. We are putting a house on in deepest, darkest Hampshire next week. So our agents are able to operate around the country. We also, as a brand and as a business, will sell houses dotted around the country as well if they kind of fit us. So and the plan going forward is we're not restricted by geography. I think our only restriction is the right type of person. If someone comes to us in County Durham and is just a brilliant person and wants to run with Mr&Mrs Clarke, then we'll run with it. We're not restricted by.
That's where your hands-on approach, I'm guessing, with the marketing as well. So there's not just a one-size-fits-all will work really well.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're able to support our team of agents, from Warwick. But then I was down in Marlborough last week having a brilliant. Marlborough's beautiful. I haven't been to Marlborough. Get to Marlborough.
Rick Stein's fish restaurant is a particular.
It's one of them on the high. It's gorgeous, and we've got a new agent, Phil, starting down there. So we worked with him on his launch video, on his launch photo shoot, his bespoke marketing plan down there, and then our marketing team will do a series of events with Phil to get him going. I think franchising's and this kind of model is not for everyone because it can be quite lonely. I think that's something else everyone needs to realize. You suddenly go from this buzzy estate agency office or this buzzy business where there's other people, and you can
have you, isn't it? And you've got to I get
suddenly you are on your own. And we've been very, I'm really cautious with that. We want to make sure everyone feels part of a team, and then our team of agents. During this call, I'm seeing that our agents WhatsApp just pinging. Someone's got a problem about a sales progression, and then everybody else is chipping in with different ideas. And that ecosystem of team is really, really important. And it doesn't all come from mine and Alex's voices. Mr&Mrs Clarke is not just me and Alex supporting all these amazing agents. It's the agents supporting each other, and then the support team here. So I think that
must be very proud though it's gone that way in terms of they're able to do. And again, that comes down to having the right people, the right mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, and at times, a supportive culture is what we're trying to create. And times are going to be tough in different people's businesses, and we need to provide a bit of a supportive hand and an ear, and I think that I don't know if that happens in other franchises in different industries, and I don't know if it happens in this industry. But we're making a real play, a genuine play on. You're going to join us, and we're going to listen, and we're going to support you and call you and help you, not push you. There's no KPIs, there's no targets. Okay. It's you're autonomous, and we're here to help. So again, is that being nice, or is that being hippie? I'm not sure. I think it's being.
I'll say you can't out hippie me anyway. So, how does I almost don't want to call it onboarding, but what does that classic kind of onboarding period look like for somebody coming on board? Does it again depend on whether they've come from outside of industry, or at what point do you say you're okay to hit the floor running? I guess is my question.
Yeah, well, very bespoke. So there is an onboarding process of really just sort of a week with us. Yeah. And that's remote. You don't have to come and stay in Warwick, although it's beautiful, as you know. Our agents will follow an onboarding process where there's online. We've got an online network that they tuck into. It's self-guided, and then we have a few days in their territory, creating their marketing plans. Working with Spectre, the office around the corner from you, who again we are huge fans of, and those two have created an amazing business. So we work very closely with them, and we create all the assets that our agents need for Spectre, and set them up on that. So that's onboarding, and then we give them training depending of what our agents need. Is it marketing training? Is it estate agency training? Is it valuations? And then we have weekly training sessions, monthly training sessions, and quarterly get-togethers. So Gemma in Marlow and Henley-on-Thames, she launched about a month ago. She was a super experienced estate agent, and she wants a lot of help with social media and marketing work. But she's just an incredible person, incredible estate agent. So she put a house on the market on day one, and then we're working with her on making sure that's brilliantly advertised. She's building brand awareness. So very bespoke.
That's really, I mean, you mentioned now a few people like Able Agent, Spectre. These are absolutely tier one providers in there. So you're clearly going out there vetting what's the best. Dare I say, you're doing a kerfuffle job for your franchisees. You are literally getting rid of all the tire kickers and everything else. Say, look, these are the ones that will truly deliver for you. And again, in a supportive sense, you've got the best tools in the kit bag, haven't you, for going into battle, as it were.
We can't do your job better than you. You guys are amazing. But
self-deprecate.
I think, yeah, we're very selective on. We'll recommend our agents can go and work with all sorts of people in the industry. But the CRM we have chosen to work with, we work with Rex. We're just about to join Rex. And they have been incredible. Their onboarding with us has been incredible. And everything they've done so far has been really brilliant with us. It comes from a brokerage background in Australia. So that's the reason we work with them. And
yeah, they have that naturally built in, don't they? Because of course they'll have the experience.
And so our agents have access to their own accounts on that, and they get the training from Rex. Fantastic. Spectre, I'm just a huge fan, and I'm fans of Home Search, very good, and all these. But we work with Spectre at the moment, and we absolutely love them. All of those cocktail cards are sent out via Spectre and letters and all sorts of things. An Able Agent we've worked with since day one in the business. We did the Able Agent level 3 qualifications. We believe the industry, we all should be qualified. I think that's I can't. It's one of those things coming from outside the industry. It kind of made me realise, there's a problem right there. Why has everyone not done a qualification?
It's obvious, isn't it, when you look at it in that respect? And give us a clue. I mean, clearly you've got this fantastic business that's growing out now. But how do you see it developing over the next 12 to 18 months? Where would you like to see, apart from obviously clearly world domination and
yeah, Ibiza would be nice. Sort of different countries around. No, UK. We want to work with more great people around the UK. We want to be selling more homes for lovely clients, and we want to be, working with more agents to sell those homes. So it's been the fun part of joining Belvoir. That's been the massive game changer that's changed Mr&Mrs Clarke hugely. When you set your own business up, you do everything. You clean the office, you make the tea, you do the admin, you do the invoicing, you do apps. Belvoir have come in, and their infrastructure is so huge. They've been able to they don't clean the office and they don't make the tea, but they do this massive amount for us that then Alex and I and the rest of the team here can really concentrate on the marketing side of things and the operations and doing that. So we're working with more agents across the UK. Is the plan.
And I think you used the phrase, and what I love about that is that you've managed to leverage. You've got the nimbleness of an innovative marketing-led organisation there, but with the huge resources of somebody like Belvoir supporting you. And that phrase, I think you use local agents but national coverage again there. Yeah. That really kind of fits into the mix.
Yeah, and I'm. It's nice. Yeah, being nimble is great. That's.
The only time you'll hear me say I'm nimble.
Yeah. You lose that startup mentality. That startup mentality is full of energy and full of excitement, and that's what a client wants to see. You want to be going in and working with a client, to have that attitude. So that's again the magic of franchising, because each one of our agents is that entrepreneur, that nimble, not constrained by corporate shackles.
Yeah.
Whereas we have the corporate infrastructure to really help us. So yeah, there's definitely that. I couldn't work if I didn't have that lightness of entrepreneurialship. Is that a word?
I'm getting that vibe. Don't worry. And so anybody who's interested looking about this, just wants to have an initial conversation about what it looks like. How do they reach out to you then, Paul?
So our website.
Reach out to you for top style, of course, is what you mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, our website is our shop window for everything. So don't just take my word for it. The Mr&Mrs Clarke is so different. Jump on our website, so mr&mrsclarke.com, and you can meet our other agents. You can see the homes we sell. You can sort of There's probably videos of me talking. There's always some of them. I quite like putting those out. And then there's parts of how you join us, so how you can become an estate agent. And there's different ways. There's sort of full franchise options if you have exclusivity in territories, the big full franchise model, which is sort of the typical way of doing it. But then there's also sort of a franchise light model, but it's an associate
model. Yeah, you were talking about.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the associate franchise, the associate franchise model. So, you join Mr&Mrs Clarke to the world. You are one of our agents, but there's no exclusivity, so you can operate anywhere that one of our other agents isn't working that has exclusivity, and it's just a shorter contract. It's that typical realtor type model. So I think that's where we get this balance of the realtor in the States. It just joins a brokerage and operates from day one immediately, and can duck and dive and be an estate agent.
You don't have to have the patches on the jacket.
Exactly. You don't have to have the tattoo, but then when it goes well, so we find a lot of our guys are starting. So our three most recent franchisees have joined in as an associate, and want to see how it goes for the first year. Want to build up to then buying a territory, having exclusivity in that territory, and operating solely. And I think that's a big difference from other models in the American imports into the UK brokerage style model are very much right. We'll take on absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
And you can operate everywhere.
Numbers game, isn't it? It seems to be just
It is, and some of those guys and girls are incredible, but you can almost have. In Warwick, as an example, there could be 4 of that agency, and I don't know. We want to be a bit more British about it. You talking about British earlier of this. We want to be. You own your manor. You want to have the confidence that you're going to invest in your business locally, invest in brand awareness, and you become that one person. So we want to champion that one person locally instead of.
I just love that. I love that phrase. You own your manor. There's an advertising campaign.
And that's it. So yeah, there's the associate model and the franchise model, and both are very, very similar, but just very subtle differences. So we just noticed that people were asking for that. They wanted to join in a gentle way, and that's cool.
Perfect. Well, look, thank you so much for spending the time with me today. It's been really, really interesting. Obviously, I mean, I can genuinely vouch for it. Having seen some of the marketing you're doing, it's really, really cutting edge and in exactly the right way. So I'm, really, really interested to see how you develop this on. And again, congratulations on the time for you and Alex and everything you're doing there.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your time, and huge fans of Kerfuffle. So yeah, lovely to chat.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much for today. We'll catch up with you next month on another of these webinars, find out a bit more about the business.
Lovely. Thank you.
Cheers.